The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of salt, so get ready, nerds, because we're talking to the chieftain of Norham himself and also alleged shitting log stalker, Kåre Conradi.
Hi.
Hello, sir.
It's great to be here. It's great to be here, and good to see you guys when I've only seen you on YouTube clips. So it's great to be part of your show. Thank you for having me.
So happy to have you on. We've been dreaming about this for what's it been, over a year now?
Yeah.
I think. We fell in love with your show, but guys, thank you for joining us. As always, I'm joined by Matt Vader, the reason why we love this show so much. Welcome, sir.
Hi, guys.
How you doing today?
I'm good.
Barbarian Space Viking.
Yes.
Barbarian Space Viking. Got the braids. I'm ready.
Is ready to rock.
Yeah.
Jude is also here. Welcome,
Hello.
Jude. Are you excited as I am?
I'm so excited.
And Matt Kadish, producer of the show.
I am very excited to get to talk to the chieftain himself, the Machiavellian ruler of the Viking village. Alex, why don't you give everyone like a brief rundown of how we got into Norsemen and why we love it so much?
Okay, so it was part of an earlier episode that we did. It was audio only. It was before we had video, and Vader was like, "Hey, I want to do Viking week."
It's my birthday.
It was your birthday week, so we did 2 movies and a TV show. You were adamant. You were like, "We have to watch this freaking show. It's so funny."
I go, it's only 6 episodes and they're half hour each. You'll be okay.
So we watched it and we immediately fell in love with it. And we were like, as we grew as a podcast, I was like, man, I got to start reaching out to some of these guys to see if I can get them on. And we got the Øystein Martinsen, who plays Kark. He came on the show, which we were super stoked about. And then we started reaching out to more actors. And then Kåre got back to us. So I have to say thank you, Vader, because you are the reason why this is all happening.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. And Kåre, thank you again. It's so awesome to have you on. We're kind of geeking out right now because I've watched the show so many times. It's like replaced my everyday watch. I have it on the background, just listening to it. And it's so much fun.
So does that mean that throughout the interview I should speak like this? I should so that you feel relaxed and more comfortable.
I don't know how long it's been since you've been on set, but you dialed that back real quick.
Yeah.
You just slipped right into Orm.
Oh no problem at all. No. It's such
amazing.
a big part of my own personality, so there's no challenge here. No, I think the main thing was that since I've spoken English throughout the childhood and all family gatherings were sort of half in English and half in Norwegian, because of my uncle who is from London. When we started shooting the series, the first evening when we're going to do the very first scene, it was a scene where Rufus is buried. In season 1, he's buried to the neck, and I come up and I introduce myself as the brother of the chieftain. And that's the very first scene we did. And the evening before, they went like, "Kåre, we haven't spoken about your accent because you can't have such a strong English accent, and we haven't really gotten around to it. And we're shooting tomorrow, but so how are we going to deal with your accent?" And I went like, "That's not going to be a problem because I will just talk like this."
That's awesome. We try our best to mimic it ourselves.
Yeah.
It never quite.
Can I listen? Can I hear? Can I hear?
Let's see. I say alleged shitting log stalker because it was just some old woman who was just trying to spread misinformation about our chieftain Orm, and we cannot have that. We had to kill her, unfortunately.
But you know we should really think about putting up some walls between the stalls or something.
We're not quite there yet technologically. We haven't gotten there yet.
I mean, the misinformation is not written in the rune stones.
I can't do it. Sorry.
Jude, no one's tried to rape you recently, right?
I'm very upset.
See, this is very moving for this is like I can't imagine that some people sort of around the world and you guys sitting in Vegas are actually, so you've all watched the show, and then you sort of get a private sort of sense of humor around it, and you make jokes about it and have fun with it, and I knew this because you'd said this on the emails and things, and I went like, it just makes me it's really heartwarming.
That's awesome.
It makes me, it's And it was good. It was good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah, you had a little nausea in there.
I know. I can't escape it.
So can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in the show to begin with? We know we talked to Oystein, and he said he kind of came in late in the game. There was a bunch of other actors who were like already booked and ready to go. Were you one of the early ones in, or did you wait a little while?
Oh no, I think I was almost the latest. I think there are some different variations. Jon Iver and Helge and Jonas, who wrote the series and directed the series, they have their version of it. Jøgge, who plays Arvid, has a version of it where they were trying out actors who were purely comedians for Orm, and then they tried out some actors who were sort of known to be mostly actors, and then Jøgge, who plays Arvid, Nils Jørgen Kolstad, said because they couldn't quite sort of find the right energy around it, and it's written so much from I mean, Jon Iver is almost Orm, one of the directors and the writers. He's almost like Orm, so I think they sort of wanted to find someone who was as close to him as possible, or whatever, and or in the same type of humor. And they didn't really find the mix, and then Jøgge said, "Have you tried Kåre? You should try him." And they said, "We are trying him, but maybe for something like the brother or the chieftain or someone else a bit more fierce." And then Jøgge just looked at them and said, "No, then you don't know Kåre's sense of humor. Then you haven't met him."
Yeah, I did. In researching more of your work to prep for the interview, I had found that you were like legit singing Frank Sinatra and stuff on stage. It was incredible. I was like, oh my gosh, Orm can freaking sing. It was great. So like I started looking more into your other work, and you're very very serious and very talented actor. And then when I see this kind of goofy off the wall character in Norsemen, I'm like, I can't believe that's the same guy.
but you know what was great about Orm is like, even though he's technically the villain of the series, like you feel for the guy, like he, you know, he's an outcast, he's an outsider, but you were able to kind of communicate an emotional resonance to the role that made him sympathetic, which is crazy.
Yeah, that I just have a few questions that I gave to these guys, but my first question was, is Orm a villain or is he just misunderstood? You know, I've always felt he was kind of, you know, just wanted to fit in a little bit. You know, I don't know.
I think many villains, a lot of villains feel misunderstood, and that's sort of why they become villains. I think that, I mean, I had to make him the way that I felt that he was, and I remember from back in school, when I was in school, say I was 12, 11. I remember not being the one who was picked out on the team for sports. They didn't pick me out to throw a ball. They knew that I was really bad. And when there was dancing involved and so we're going for discos in the evening, I was never chosen to go out on the dance floor. Nobody came up to me and asked me to dance. And it's not something I'm really sad for, but it sort of made an impact on me, and I could use those things when I played Orm. That sort of feeling of, I can't complain about my childhood, but I have a lot of moments where I've felt different and left outside, and I could use all those things, and it's really well written as well. I mean, it's basically this man who just becomes so lonely and doesn't really realize, hasn't found himself, and then he does all these weird, terrible things. So there's some.
I feel like you just gave us the inside look at your villain origin story. Just talking about your childhood, not getting picked for sports.
It's interesting. I could reckon. There's a scene in the opening where of season 1 where he, when he, the people are coming back from raid and he stayed back home because his back was a bit off. He was terrified of going fighting, and then they all are going for this party afterwards, and they all say 3, 2, 1, no one else can come, and all this, and they leave him and say he can't come to the party, even though he suggests bringing his own chair, and he could just sit out. All of these things, and I sort of, when I did that scene, I recognized some things from just sitting on the bench and not sort of being the one sort of going up dancing. Didn't dare to do it. It wasn't part of the whole party. I remember that.
One of the more heartbreaking scenes, I think it was the bachelor party.
The bachelor party
is when your older brother gave you, was like, oh, I brought you Nick the stick, and it was just like a twig that he just picked up, and it was like, that was such a heartbreaking moment because you knew that guy did nothing at all to try and like give you a gift. It was just off the cuff,
and I was so
and you were
happy
so happy about it.
So did you give Orm the backstory that he has, or did the show creators tell you like who he is and what his motivations are?
Both.
Okay.
I think both. They wrote a wonderful script, and they've written all of this, and I tried to learn the lines as word by word as possible. And Orm speaks a lot. He has a lot of things to say all the time, even though it's not very smart all the time.
Well, that's what they say.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 concerns are completely unfounded.
So that's the way it was. They wrote a wonderful part, and they also said that they were really happy that I could come in with all of my strange things. So it was a mix. And after a while, they said there was scenes where I was in the scene, but not in front of everything that happened. And they kind of went like, and you come in and you just do your Orm thing. Just do your Orm thing.
That's awesome.
So they didn't know exactly what that was, and they said, "You know this better."
That's great.
You know.
Well, there was this episode in season 0 or season 3 where they all come in with horses to Jarl and they all sort of enter leading the horses, and they said, "Are you, because you're terrified of horses, and Orm is terrified of horses? How do you enter the field? How do you sort of enter the field when they meet Jarl?" And I looked around at the field and I went like, "Oh, I know, just start shooting. And they said, can you tell us sort of approximately where you are?" And I said, I'll be somewhere over there, but just start shooting. And when they started shooting, I walked around and I picked flowers. So that was my sort of choice. I'm just going to pick some flowers.
So there with all the old guys.
Yeah, leading the old guys in.
No, the battle's this way. So we're going right towards it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure.
One of the scenes that always sticks out in my mind is in the premiere episode where Orm is outside with the 2 other Vikings taking a piss, and he's trying to connect with them and by talking about his arsecicle. So I was wondering, could you give us any insight into what an arsecicle is necessarily?
Dude, we talk about arsecicles almost every day.
Way more than what's healthy, I think.
And have you come to any conclusion yourself?
Jude doesn't have one.
I only know what it's called. It's called an arsecicle. I don't know what everybody else calls theirs.
Doesn't Orm have a little like protruding little tail thing?
A vestigial tail, I think.
Yeah, that's his arsecicle.
Tail.
Yeah,
arsecicle in close between the perineum and
He remembers the line.
There's something.
God, I love you.
See, this is one of the things that I had to sort of ask the director, and especially Jon Iver Helgak. I had to ask him a few times. So sometimes there are some things in there that I was going like, so we're gonna keep this.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. It's like what kind of in that same vein. It's like when you found out he was some kind of like a weirdo that likes to watch people take poops. What did you think about the character when you found this out that you got a secret section of tunnels underneath the shitting log? It's weird, right?
See, it was too late then, because that was the season 3. It was too late, but I had my discussions. I've won 1% out of 99 discussions. So a few times they've agreed with me and said, yeah, it's too much. But mostly they say that's him.
Wait.
That's him. We need that. So
hold on a second.
I agree, but I need to know what didn't get.
Like there's a scene where you reverse rape somebody, and that was okay. Yeah. What was too much?
I couldn't explain, but the few things that were too much, that we agreed on was actually too much. It wasn't that it was worse than what you mentioned, but it was more like there were things in season 3 that they had suggested, and I don't think they will mind me telling you, but there were things that they suggested that I just felt that, and they agreed. it was too early, because if you look at it as a sequel, if you look at it sort of season 1 as or season 3 as the prequel as it is, then we were telling too much about his sexuality, and he didn't know this in season 1 himself. So there were too many obvious things that sort of, or at least one scene that was sort of too obvious, and you would know already. And then there happen nice things that happens in season 1 that are more sort of not so much on the nose. So we needed to keep that sort of on a level that wasn't.
That makes
So
sense.
there was a scene, there was a fight between me and a Viking, and he was so muscular and so sort of really hunk and good looking and full of muscles and everything. There was a fight, and there was a scene where I was just clinging to his back and I didn't want to let him go. And it was kind of funny, but we had to sort of leave it because it was too early. It was too early because it was it was the prequel, but it was kind of sweet in a strange way, but it was just not right.
Okay.
So Orm has this way about himself that, I mean, he's very different from everyone else that is around him, but he still has this like
everyone else is different.
Yeah, he has this sense of unearned confidence that he's just like, he's so confident in the way that he thinks. Like, where do you think that comes from? Like, where does he get his confidence? And like the way that he's so different from like his brother and his wife and everybody. He's so certain that the way that he thinks is right. And I just find him so charming.
Yeah, I think it's just, when you know for a while that everything you do is kind of strange, then after a while you sort of build up a defense, and nobody can break through that defense. So even though he would know that people were saying things to him that was right, or he knew he was doing bad things, he's kind of built up this way of looking at himself that nobody could penetrate. I think it was like they couldn't get through to him in that way. Yeah. At least I feel that when I was playing it, that even though people were looking at me funny, and I mean, looking at Oim funny, they would look at me funny as well. But the way, even though they were saying things that were obvious, it felt really good to be that sort of character that just kind of didn't want to take that in. So if people said you're mad, and he said no, I just have, he would avoid everything. He would avoid all the problems, everything that was addressed to him. So it's kind of a defense system, I think.
Okay.
That's just complete. He doesn't want to go into it, so then he doesn't see it. And he believes in it himself because he feels that he is a vulnerable, sensitive person, and that's the sort of the base of Oim's character. Is he's vulnerable, he's sensitive, he feels that he's not being seen, he feels unloved, and he's so much full of love, like the bull Ferdinand, if you know that story, who just wants to pick flowers. It's a beautiful story about this bull who just wants to pick flowers, and it's something like this. The base of him is very sweet, and so things doesn't get through to him. Yeah,
he just wants to fit in, man.
Yeah, he just wants to be loved.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
He's a lovable Viking.
Yeah, you will die of love. What is it that would you say your favorite part of playing this character is when you're on set? Is there something about it that just kind of hits you a different way? What would you say your favorite part is?
I think it's putting on the costume, and every time, if it's on stage or if it's in a series or anything that I've done before, I always feel that if I miss the character when it's finished, if I miss the character that I played when the show is over and we're not going to play it anymore, or a play that we've done, if I sort of miss the character afterwards, then I feel that I've done something right. And Oim is probably the character that I miss the most. It's just when you get the costume on, and I sort of look in the mirror, or just look at how other people look at me when I'm in the costume, or I think the best thing is just sort of getting into the costume and just being part of that environment that they've created. And to be able to know that this character now. I know what Oim is like, and I know what he would do in a situation like so and so, and it feels like a liberty. You can just stay in that world in a way. It's like,
I kind of get that.
I miss Orm too.
Yeah.
I get it.
Speaking of the show ending, so like we were all very sad when we heard Netflix wasn't renewing it. How did you hear about it, and what was your initial reaction to it?
I got an email from our producer who wrote to everybody, who said that unfortunately, but I hadn't read the email until the day after. So everyone else had written, "This is very sad, guys," and they also said maybe something will happen in the future. Who knows? So let's keep hopes up for that and all of this. So he wrote at the end of the email sort of positive things about the producer, about maybe in the future we could do so and so and so and so. So maybe we'll see each other again for something else with the entire cast. And I started writing an email, but I deleted it because I wasn't quite sure if they would take the joke in such a serious way. But I started writing, finally, I don't have to look into these people's eyes anymore. I don't have to be sort of part of this terrible environment with all these terrible actors and all that. And then I was writing, oh, hang on, you say we'll meet again? Great. Can't wait to see you guys. Looking for thumbs up. And all of them are so lovely, and it's one of the best periods of my career so far. But I didn't. I was worried not everyone would get it, and then I thought this is too serious. We were all very sad, but I think we all haven't really, in our hearts, felt that we're finished with it. Maybe at some point they could make a film. Maybe at some point another television series, a channel will pick it up, or maybe we'll just do sort of an outdoor play live in front of an audience.
Oh God, let us know. We will go there.
Yeah. I mean, I personally feel like it's one of those shows that is ripe for being rediscovered.
Mm-hmm.
I think somebody with some pull or somebody's going to find this show someday, and they're going to want a season 4. I really do think that, because
that's very. I mean, the good thing is that you guys feel this way also, because if it never comes back, then we've stopped at sort of a point where everybody wants more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after that season 2 cliffhanger, we're all like, what happened? So can you tell us, were there any plans that you were like kind of read in on of, a season 4, like that you could kind of give us an idea of where the story was headed?
I wish I could. I saw the question. I wish I could, but there's nothing. I even wrote to the director and said, what happened in the season that wasn't the prequel, but the one before? And they said, oh, we can't tell you. So they haven't told me anything. But I know that they've finished. They wrote an entire season of what happened after season 2. And then they sort of were sitting one evening, I think, silly as they are, and just went, hang on, wouldn't it be great to have everybody back? And to have Henrik Mestad, who plays the king, and to have Silje back, who then died, Frøya.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just bring everybody back. And I don't know if it was sort of a notion of the fact that this might be the last series, or if it was, but they just switched everything and wrote a season that they thought was just as funny, and that was season 0. But I don't know anything about what they've written. We were left alone in season 2. I was king, but just for 2 people.
I mean, the whole thing happening because Jarl Varg went bald is
hilarious.
That's hilarious, right? That is really funny.
It is the greatest villain origin story ever put on film.
Male pattern baldness.
Yeah. Did you notice that Jarl Björn that he had played in Vikings as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Torbjörn is a wonderful actor, and I love the idea that he actually he wanted to do it. I mean, a lot of actors want to be part of Norsemen, but he'd done sort of the serious version before, and I thought that was really sort of.
And
nice
his character was the same in both too.
Was it?
Yes,
yeah, was it?
Same
because
character.
I still yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, crossover.
Yeah, no, I'm in. So this exists in the History Channel. Maybe a History Channel can pick you guys up.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That'd be amazing. No, but for real though, like us as fans, we are 100% pulling for more Norsemen.
We've been lobbying.
If there's anything that we can do to help you guys out in any way, please let us know. We do these interviews as part of that. We make sure that we talk about this show all the time to our club members and patrons and all that kind of stuff. And we're making sure that we're building a fandom for you guys over here in the States for sure.
We named one of our live streams after the show.
Yes.
The Saturday morning home gang.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do a Saturday morning show called the Home Gang every week, where it's just me and Matt and our friend Danny. And we sit there and we argue about nerd stuff for an hour and a half. It's fun. Yeah. And everybody goes,
I thought that was just a regular word that you picked up somewhere else.
No. And everybody goes, well, what's a home gang? And we go, well, watch Norsemen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. It's great. I love that.
So one of the things that really endeared the show to me once I found out that you guys film it in both Norwegian and English, just because you love people and you want more fans, I was just kind of curious, like, how did that all go about and what were the challenges that kind of come along with that?
Oh, the first season we had, it was so difficult, especially throughout the half of season one, because we didn't know how to do it because nobody else had done it in that way. And the producer just came to us, Anders came to us and said that I want to try and make a version in English as well. So we just have it. If people come to us and say, we love the series, we want to do a remake. And then I thought we were just going to do one run through of the entire scene in English, and I thought it was never going to be used. So, but then when we came on set, they actually wanted the focus to be just as much on the English version as on the Norwegian one. And we didn't understand in the beginning how we should do that, because, you know, as when you film, you do the whole total first, and then you move all the cameras into a new position, and that takes about 20 minutes or half an hour to sort of adjust in the lights and everything. So we couldn't do the whole thing once and then get everything back to do it in English. So we did like a total in Norwegian, and then when we were happy with that, we did the total in English.
Wow.
And then we went closer, like 2 people in the frame, and that would be in Norwegian and English, and then closer in, and then the same. So to begin with, we were so confused, we were going back and forth. And then we got to this rule that we would do the total in Norwegian and then the total in English. And then when we moved in, we remember that the last thing we did was in English. So we would do the 2-shot in English because that was the last text we remembered from the total. And then we would do Norwegian. And then Norwegian was the last thing we remembered. So when we went even closer, we would do it first in Norwegian and then in English.
Jeez.
So it was, that made sense to us, because the last time we did it, like half an hour ago, when we did the sort of a total, we did it. So it made sense, but it was so confusing because there's some words that are similar and some words that didn't. There were a few scenes where I actually had to put the sort of two scenes where I had to put the script underneath the fur that I was sitting on, and have us in season one with the poems, where I was reading poems. It was so difficult to remember them in English and Norwegian as well.
So in regard to that chaos, and I know that you said that Orm is a character that you miss and you loved, and I was wondering, what's your preference? Do you prefer performing live on stage, or do you prefer being in front of the camera on the set?
I love both. I think when I've gotten older, I think I have now a more sense of how sort of naked and real you can be in front of a camera, and I love the idea of doing more film, because it would be. I think I have so much more to give now, in the sense of just letting the camera find you and pick up all the emotions and be as close as you can. And on stage, you always have to have the sort of technicality of reaching out to a second balcony or third balcony. So there's a technical thing about that. I love the intimate space in the theatre. I love if I can do sort of a modern play or an Ibsen play, or in an intimate space of like 200 people, because then it's almost like being in front of a camera, but still with a live audience, and still it matters then and there. And I think that's, yeah. But I love all of it. And as you said in the beginning, I've done a lot of big band stuff and Sinatra stuff and Sammy Davis stuff as well, because I tap dance. I've tap danced since I was 12. So there's a lot of that as well, and I love all those different things. But I think maybe, yeah, I think now I'm 49, and I would have much more to sort of offer a film than I had before. It would be easier to just take away everything and just pick up the emotions. And so I think, yeah. But I love everything. I love being in an intimate theatre space. I think that's basically where I've done the most, or on a main stage. But I love the intimate spaces where you can meet the audience.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you're meeting your audience right now, man.
Yeah.
We are freaking, you've got us like captured. This is great.
I sometimes look at you, and I sometimes I have a huge iPad in front of me. You should see it. It's balanced on my iPad is balanced on sieve for spaghetti, and then I have a yogurt bottle that I had to that's square that I had to take out of the fridge. So by the time we're finished with this will probably be warm and never be drunk. And it's balancing like this. So if I move,
That would be perfect.
Yeah,
That'd be
that's
okay.
exactly what we. Yeah.
Do you have the same system in your studio? Is everything balancing on
Oh,
sieves
it's all held together by bubble gum and dental floss.
Yeah. Yeah, if you,
See,
I'll send you a picture of our camera system, and you're gonna laugh because it kind of looks
It
like
looks like a Christmas tree.
dysfunctional Christmas tree. It's quite comical.
Oh. Okay, I'd love to see that.
I mean, it's not up there technologically wise with the shitting log or any of that advanced technology.
No, that's very
But,
advanced. That's very advanced.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite gags is like Jarl Varg's hands,
Oh my god.
where like you know like they just have like a twig and like a fork sticking on there, and that's like the height of technology.
And you can hear the laughter of the two of Jonas and Univa, who directed it and wrote it. You could almost hear the laughter throughout all of those scenes because they sitting in the evening coming up with this, and then all the actors just suddenly stand there with all this.
So I wanted to ask you, speaking of that, so when we spoke with Oystein, like he was talking about how, like to us, the show seems like, oh, this is 100% ad-lib from start to finish. But he said that like it was actually like very scripted, and you guys, if you had any ad libs, it was in the read, and they would work it into the script. So like, were there any like ad libs that you kind of brought to the show that made it into the final episode?
There's always something I find in every scene. There's probably something I could say like that's something that I've added a few words, but Øystein is right. I mean, this is so well written that going away from the text would sometimes be really just unnecessary. But like for instance, there's a scene in the Thing, or we call it Tinge, where they gather in season 2, where they all gather in the field, and this guy is standing on top of this high, it's the scene where we sort of trick Arvid to go into battle, or to so he's being an outcast. And when we trick him to do that, Rufus and I sit there, and Rufus says, don't sweat, just be yourself. He says, just be yourself, Arvid. And then I said to Jonas on you, can I add everyone else is taken? Because that's the saying. And I went like, oh yeah, that's funny. So when you have the scenes like you say, just be yourself, and I go, yeah, everyone else is taken. So things like that just happen. But mostly, like, there are huge scenes, like when I try and convince this couple they were so funny because they were extras and they were looking at me like I was the maddest person in the room. Because there's a long scene where I try and explain to them, when I become chieftain, I will come to your house, and I could just come and we could all suddenly be naked together, and there's a huge monologue.
I remember
where
this.
And all of that is scripted. All of that text, I was up all night, so everything I say there is almost 100% what they wrote.
My gosh.
So
That's funny.
You did both in English and Norwegian. That's amazing. Yeah. Props to you guys. I tried for this interview, I was going to do my normal opening, the following podcast may contain. I was going to do it in Norwegian to like kind of honor you being on the show. And I was completely lost. I'm like, if I do this, I'm going to butcher it. It's going to sound terrible. So I have to
hear it, and then you can.
Oh no.
I can edit it.
Yeah, we're actually going to redo this interview after it's done in Norwegian.
Yeah. So if you could hang in there with us.
I would have to read. I think I took a screenshot of the script.
Call me back in an hour.
I'll try it. Yeah.
We'll start over.
It would be immensely helpful if I had somebody like you to help me coach me through the pronunciations of some of the words, but no, it was something.
No, you're not allowed to rehearse.
No, but I love that you guys did that. It's such it kind of like, it puts this show on a different level for me, I think. Like, are you guys familiar with Seinfeld in Europe? Is that like a normal thing for you guys over there? Jerry Seinfeld's TV show from the 90s? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
This Norseman has replaced that show for me as like a rewatch.
Ooh.
Like I used to rewatch
Wow.
Seinfeld all the time.
Yeah.
I don't watch it anymore. I watch Norsemen.
Norseman is kind of like the Seinfeld of Viking shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear the screams of people watching this going, "Are you mad? How can you replace Seinfeld with?"
I did.
Well,
Like
I've had people ask me what the show is about, what it's like, and I tell people it's History Channel's Vikings mixed with the Office.
Office bit.
Yeah.
I think that's the best analogy that I've seen. You know,
What's the deal with the shitting law?
Yeah. No, that's true. No, I like that. I like that saying as well. It's really nice, and I think there was a review in the Guardian that sort of mentioned Monty Python, and it's really nice. I love Seinfeld, and I thought that was really sweet to say that. No, I think if you I mean, I can't say that I still haven't watched the entire series in hope that we won't do another, because I never watch what I've done until I know it's really finished. So I still haven't sat down and watched all of our series. But
well,
it's very sweet.
I know that worldwide the show's been very popular, which is why I was surprised that Netflix kind of canceled it. Are you surprised at how like beloved the show has become?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we weren't prepared for, as I said, when we were shooting the series in English, I thought it was never going to be used. But we all love the fact of doing it, and we love the idea of doing it. But I've met people that I was really thrown by people who come up to me. It could be from Brazil, they could be from Mexico, they could be from people from all places of the world who've sort of come up to me, especially when my beard was a bit longer than it is now, and sort of and thank me for the series. Sometimes they thank me for Vikings, which I just go along with.
Well, it's in Norwegian it's called Vikingane, right? That's the name of the show. Because
Vikingane.
Viking, what is it?
Vikingane.
See,
I did see.
We do not know how to pronounce
I do not, because I read it and I
Norwegian.
said, "Oh, that's Vikingane."
I said the same thing.
So,
We're probably mispronouncing home gang too.
No, Vikingane is sort of the old new Norwegian, a sort of an old Norwegian way of saying the Vikings, the plural form.
Okay.
So Vikingane,
oh, okay.
is Viking is Viking, and then Anna is sort of the plural form when it comes to New
Vikingane.
Norwegian or Old
Wow.
Norwegian.
Yeah, I was totally pronouncing that
Vikingane.
Vikingane.
I think one of my favorite moments in the entire series is that scene where Jarl Varg is talking to the dragon tamer, and the dragon's in the sky in the background, and they end up killing her, and the dragon just like flies away. That episode to me just sticks out in my mind because it was so funny. And you said you haven't seen the whole series, but of just your experience in making it, what was your favorite episode?
My favorite episode was, I mean, I've now seen bits in Norwegian and in English as well, so I've probably seen loads of things after a while, and people sit down with me and go, "You have to see this scene," and then I sometimes haven't helped myself, so I had to watch sort of one episode of something because you never know if we. But it's the sort of internal feeling that I have for the character that I think I will lose some if I watch it too much, because then it will be very obvious to me what I'm doing visually. So that's why I just sometimes contain myself from watching. But I loved doing every. I don't think there's some episodes that was difficult because it was so. It was sort of completely not my sense of humor. It was a bit too dark and too sort of anal.
We know the exact scene you're talking about.
It was sometimes and I was going, do we really need this? And that's funny. But it all made sense when it comes to what the character is like. And I mean, there were many scenes that I loved doing. I loved working with all of the actors. I mean, some of them are really good friends of mine from before, and some I had never worked with before. Øystein, as you mentioned, that you had on your show, is such a good actor, and he's such a wonderful man. He's so kind. You must have noticed.
Oh God!
We all commented afterwards. We're like, he's kind of Kark. Like he's very agreeable, very kind, very easygoing.
Yeah. He's based in Stavanger on the west coast of Norway at the theater there. But he's done things everywhere. But he always does leading roles, and he's such a great theater actor as well. but all of them are, and Jugge is a good friend who plays Arvid, and Marianne, and no, they're all. So I sort of love doing all different scenes with them. I'm trying to remember one favorite scene. I love the scene when Kark and I we were going to bed, sleeping inside this sort of small house when I was a slave.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some sort of chickens around there, I think, and some animals who we had to push away. And it was such a nice thing. And I gave him a nickname. I said, Karkish, which is sort of Karky boy, something. Yeah. I don't remember what I said in Norwegian, but it was kind of it was such a sweet thing where he sort of went to bed and went like, good night, Karky. Because they all go to a party without me when I fall asleep. So that's no good. But, it's such, but there are some, I love the.
I always felt bad because even the slaves didn't like him.
I know, they ditched him.
His family doesn't like him, and the slaves don't like him. It's like I would have made a stupid installation too out of everything. I get it. Yeah, it's like
it's cool that you mentioned your favorite part being with Øystein, because I think in our interview with him, he said that his favorite part of working on the show was working with you. He said when Kark and Orm get together, he's like, that was the best part of the show for me too. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, it's nice. There's some comedy timing thing about him that's really nice, and he's not afraid of being just completely sort of unfiltered on camera. But none of them are. I mean, I love working with Jon as well, who plays Hjalmar, because when you say scripted, sometimes Jon just goes completely off script. He will just go mad and wild, and the camera just rolls, and we love it. And it's just. And I love working in that way as well. So we had some things together when he was trying to sort of get me to be on board his team. And there's some things there where we start sniffing each other in the face. And all of that was just there on the camera for the first time. It's just, he comes up to me and he sniffs my nose. And I sort of, there's some weird moments of just kind of happening. And of course, everything, Troja and Arvid, all of the scenes, it's difficult with isn't it the scene in the show where it's difficult to pick out a favorite that were also good?
We feel the same way.
Yeah. Going back to you and Øystein, how do you think Orm would kill Kark if he found out who Kark really was?
How do you think Orm would?
Being that Kark is the rightful heir to the throne, how do you think Orm would react, and how do you think he would kill him?
See, you went straight to the point. He would probably kill him. See, that's so sad.
I know, because, Orm really wants Kark to be his friend, but if he knew who Kark really was, I mean, he would definitely kill him.
If he found out that he wasn't his friend, maybe he will have a sort of slight change of heart and go like, okay, you can be my brother if you can be the chieftain if you also say yes to be my best friend. But then I think Kark would probably say, I think I can do that.
Or he'd give him a blood eagle.
Oh, gosh. You mentioned some of the scenes in the show not being your type of humor and like going like, oh my God, do I have to do this? How do you, like, culturally, like I feel like in America, that dark humor that has a special place with us. Weird people like us like that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's like nationwide or not. How does that type of humor translate in Europe and in Norway?
I mean, that's probably one of the reasons why the show has sort of as you say, it's become really, really popular. But I also think that those decisions about making it sometimes that dark, and sometimes I think those decisions as well make that some people don't want to watch it and then they find it's too much. And sometimes you don't get to. So I think some people haven't watched it long enough so they can get past those things and understand that it's really humor meant with sort of a slight tongue in cheek.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there would be a few more watching it if it wasn't, but I think we'd lose a lot of people as well if that wasn't in there. I mean, the basis of the series is like that. So, but in Norway, no one has really been surprised by those things, and it's gotten really good reviews. All 3 seasons have gotten really, really good reviews in Norwegian press. So, but there are some people that I know that just sort of stopped watching because of the really dark humor. But then I know that people watch it entirely for that.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
Yeah, we love it.
One of my favorite scenes, I just watched it this week. My wife was all, "What are you watching?" And it was when they do the raid and they push you off the boat and you know, and Freya drags you up. Then they go raid the little picnic with
with the priest,
and they're just savage. They throw,
Yeah, it's bloody. It's
bloody.
like, and these are all nice people.
And he throws the axe and gets the priest in the middle of the back. Then they just sit down and start eating their food.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing.
And then
you show up, you get beat up by the little girl. It was just hilarious. And it was just, that's what I love about this show. It's so savage and so funny at the same time.
Yeah, one of the fascinating things about this show is that it's able to balance kind of like the Game of Thrones, ruthless, political, violent stuff with what's ostensibly a comedy.
Yeah.
And it does it in a way where like it doesn't detract from the humor, but it also doesn't detract from the drama. It's perfectly balanced. And
Really?
it's very rare to find a show like that.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I mean, they did find a balance, and I think that's also why they could take out a few things when they saw that it wasn't really working or wasn't as funny or it was too dark. I loved, by the way, the scene you mentioned. I loved doing the scenes with this. She was 13 at the time, and she was a champion, and she was so good at fighting because she'd won competitions and everything like that. So they just kind of had to make it a bit more normal fight.
Oh my God.
She kicked me. I have a scene on my Instagram account where I have a sort of small. Where I said, "Is it okay?" I asked her family and her if I could sort of put up that small video where she kicks me in the groin during rehearsal, and it's really funny. I was so surprised because she just started kicking, and of course we had a sort of a safe thing that made it safe, but it was still kind of, I was laughing my head off. She was so funny.
That's great.
She was so funny. So
I had no idea that little girl was actually a legit fighter.
Yeah,
that makes
funny.
it even.
Oh yeah, no, she's won competition.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's awesome. That was a great scene. Yeah, like Katie said, the balance of humor and like just really, really good storytelling in this show is really endearing.
I mean,
to us.
Orm is such a sweet he but like he is ruthless. Like, he killed his brother. He took the throne. He was a slave, and then like he became the chieftain again. Like his political maneuvering is like really high level, but then he's kind of like held back
It's very
by
Richard III.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's it's very Shakespearean.
That's what I like about all the characters in this show. He's like characters like Arvid. He's such a sweet dude. He's a sweet, sweet dude, but he's got no qualms about stealing your stuff and your wife and cutting your ass in half. like it's nothing. It's just, and I appreciate that. It's just, man, it's just.
I think the ruthlessness of the Vikings and the way they're sort of portrayed throughout history, and they're just adding that into normal people who they just do that. That's just the way they are, and I find that sort of it's so interesting to see how a fight scene. There's a scene in season 3 you probably remember where they start asking, "How do you know who you're killing?
Oh yeah,
how can you know that you're not killing your own people?" And Ivy just goes like, I just stabbed the people who were close to me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I have no
You
idea."
don't.
And the one guy's like, "Somebody chopped his cock off. Who would do that?" And Fiora's just sitting there like,
Terrible.
And their necklace of penises.
yes.
Yeah, there are some things that are sort of just we've had some, as I said, there's some discussion, but I really love the persistence of the directors and the writers. They went, and that needs to be in there, that needs to be sort of part of, that's why they love it, and that's why we're going to keep it in, we're not going to change it. Yeah, I love that.
I believe you have a scene with Freya where you're talking about the size of the of the junk on her penises, and you're like, that's not normal. That's
Yes.
so good. It was just,
he starts talking about they're the huge, enormous ones. If I wore something like that, I would fall down. But we did have, that was before. I mean, I have to say, Celia, who plays Freya, she was such a delight too. She was there for my audition as well. And the minute we started talking to each other, I sort of felt like this chemistry is so. Speaking of chemistry, is so nice. And always when we did a scene together, her and I, they let the camera roll afterwards, and we would have so many things coming after it. When she left the room after the scene with the cock necklace. I would just shout to her behind the camera and start sort of saying all of that and saying like, you couldn't, I would fall to the floor. I would faint. I would. It's not normal. I would just continue.
All your blood would go from your head down to your other head.
You know, one of the more controversial aspects, at least here in the States, was the joking about the rape. And you talked about how it's like normal people, but with like the Viking era, and in that time period, rape was just part of like
the thing you do.
The thing you do. But like there are so many scenes where the woman's like, oh, if he comes down and rapes me, like, I'm prepared for it and stuff like that. Was there any worry among like the cast members that like that might be going too far, or were you guys just like, you know what, let's just go full rapey?
Was that the scene with Liv?
With Liv.
Where she was waiting for Jarlvarg.
Give me some Jarl sperm.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, there was also like when Orm was in charge, and there was a woman at the farm village. She's like, "Oh, is Orm going to come and rape me? If so, I need to get ready."
Oh yeah, no, there were some. I know there's always discussion when it comes to those scenes as well, because I mean, I feel that everyone who was working on this project are sort of people you want to hug. And you sort of really become really close to them, and you love them. And so every time there was something that was sort of on the too much or too fierce or too strong, there would always be discussions. Is this right or something like that? But it was sort of the part of the show and the way it was. And the only person who would sometimes make it even worse than it was written in the text would be Jon, who plays Jarlvarg. He would go mad sometimes. Some of his lines are just kind of going, "Oh, okay, you went that way."
Like that scene where all of his men are like, I have daughters. Do we have to keep raping?
Yeah, the dynamic, especially with that Jarlvarg scene, where all of his like henchmen, his group of Vikings, were like, "Hey, we don't really feel comfortable doing this," and he's like, "Fine, I'll do it myself."
Yeah, and then the funny bit is that he can't.
He can't do it either, which I think is what makes that dark humor okay, is because they're acknowledging it in the show that like, hey, not everybody's going to be cool with this, but we play it tongue in cheek.
Well, also you had that great scene in season 3 where they're like, how can a woman rape someone? I don't understand. And then Freya does it. Yeah. You're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. I mean, if you sort of haven't watched the series and you sort of come into the conversation on a sort of like a point like this, they would be sort of wondering what's, it's
context matters.
I mean, I didn't have sort of many of those scenes, but there was always discussions about how to do it and how to do the proper. But it always ends with a joke, and it always turns out bad for the person who says bad things or does bad things. So I think it's But as I said, we had huge discussions throughout sometimes, and I would lose most of them. But it's really in a funny way.
So when you got the script, because there is a scene in season one where your character gets raped, and you read that, and what was your initial reaction?
Yeah, of course, it was one of those scenes where I went like, "Do we need that scene?" Talk about it afterwards. It was a way of sort of extremely showing that he was trying to discover himself in a way, because he discovers himself through that scene. He actually and tries to sort of deny it afterwards. So it was needed. But there's some scenes like that where you just have to sort of look at the person you're sort of acting with and just smile. I mean, Björn, who plays the guy in that scene, is such a wonderful man and such a charming man, and it's so there will be a lot of sort of humor around those scenes. But when I know when those scenes were they were not in the audition bits that I got. And I never before sort of wanted to call the casting director and said, I really want this part. After I did the audition, I really want this part. And then when I read the script afterwards, I'm like, hang on. I didn't know but no, it's but it's all needed, and it really has a good flow of it. So I just I think all of them. But the voice, no, absolutely no. It's, as they said, it's neat.
One of the more awkward scenes I remember is from season 3, where Orm's brother and his wife are trying to teach Orm about sex. And so like they're having sex in front of him, and he just keeps looking at his brother's balls and wondering what you do with those while you're having sex. like when you read stuff like that in the script, are you just like kind of like, what are the writers thinking, or like what was your reaction?
Oh, I
to
know what
something
they're
like
thinking. I know what they're thinking. I just asked them, how late in the evening was this when you wrote this? How awake were you when you? They always said, I mean, yeah, the writers, they always said like they would, and they've told me many times when they wrote another episode or a season, they were going, because they know how I am personally, and they would laugh sometimes when they wrote it, and they would actually say to each other a lot of the time, they would say like, we can't do that to Kåre. We can't do that to him. We can't do, and then they look at each other and go, no, we will.
Have a couple more drinks and then we'll do it.
Yeah. They'd said seriously many times. We said we can't do that to Kåre. We can't do that. So, but that's really sweet.
So, Kåre, can you tell me what have you been working on lately? What kind of new projects are you in line for coming up in the future? Where can people kind of check out some of your other work?
I have my own. I mean, I'm based at the National Theatre in Oslo, where I'm. So every time I'm doing something else, I have a leave from. At the moment, I'm playing Sam, sort of Pierce Brosnan's part in Mamma Mia in Oslo. But I have my own theatre company that I started some years ago, because the most performed dramatist in the world after Shakespeare is the Norwegian playwright Henrik Ibsen, who wrote A Doll's House and Hedda Gabler and a lot of plays that go around. So he's the most performed in the world, but we've never had our own professional Norwegian Ibsen company, like you have a Royal Shakespeare Company or the Globe, who sort of focus entirely on Shakespeare. We haven't had that with Ibsen. So I've sort of gently and quietly sort of started this theatre company where I try to get the best actors from Norway, and we perform in Norway, but we also travel. And we are opening after New Year. We have a new production in London at a theatre called the Coronet in Notting Hill, and that's in the beginning of March. And then we have a huge production of Peer Gynt, another Ibsen play, in the summer in Oslo. So further down the coast, in a place called Grimstad, which is an outdoor venue for 900 seats. Wow. So my focus is now being sort of artistic director of my own company and deciding what plays to do, why we should do it, and where to do it. And so far, things are going well. I always have to trust in private funding. But it's going well because I can sort of push Ibsen in front of me and say he's the best in the world after Shakespeare. And due to the fact that I have the best people with me, and we don't travel and say that we are experts on Ibsen, but it's just something of being Norwegian, speaking his language, and so we have some sort of experience by doing that, and people want to see that. Like you guys love the fact that this has been done in Norwegian as well, and sometimes people come to me and say, how can we see the Norwegian version? So, but I do a mix. We do Ibsen in both Norwegian, and sometimes there are scenes in English with English actors as well. So it's and then I'm writing a television series. So we're sitting writing a new television series that I sort of can't say too much about, but we're writing it. We can, and then I'm probably doing a children's film after New Year. I mean, I've become a father, and that's sort of my main focus is to have evenings off now, and so I'm not in these productions that we're doing with my company. I'm just being artistic director and deciding things.
Nice.
Right on.
So
Congratulations.
I'm just a really, really proud father. That's basically what I'm these days. And as you all know, people who have children will sort of go like, yeah, that's, I didn't know I could sort of, it's so many emotions.
You're a better man than me because I'm only 2 years older than you. And if I had a baby at home, there's no way. My kids are old and gone and out. So
yeah. I told myself that I wouldn't get a baby as late as my dad, but my dad actually beat me. He was 2 years younger than me, or 3 years younger than he had me. So yeah, it's you have to find the right woman.
I'm getting them out of the way early.
Yeah.
I'm 33. I've got all mine done already.
That you think.
Yeah. I've got 3 kids, and I know exactly how you feel about like wanting those days to time to spend with them. So you're picking and choosing what jobs you want to pursue based off of what you can do.
Yeah. So far, I've been very fortunate, so I can do that as well, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
So I'm, the next half year I won't be playing in the evenings. I'll just do work when she's in kindergarten, things like that.
Mhm.
It's just, I think that's the good thing about becoming father when you're, I mean, as I said, I'm 49. She's 16 months now. So it's sort of, when you get older, you understand a bit more what you really sort of want. And I'm in that position now where I can actually do that. So
That's excellent, man.
It feels good.
Congratulations. We're happy for
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy that we managed to do this this interview. I just
Oh, thank you so much, man. That means a lot.
So
for
are
us.
we.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Jude?
Oh, so we've heard that fame is treated much differently in Norway than it is here. And I was wondering, like, when you said earlier that you get recognized for Norsemen, like where does that happen, when that happens? And have you been to the States since Norsemen? Like, have you gotten recognized here? And what happens?
I haven't been in the States many times in my life. I've only been a few times in the States.
You're
so
invited.
I haven't been to this. What?
You're invited.
Thank you.
Yeah,
welcome.
come to Vegas, hang out.
Well, the last time I was in the States, I actually was in Vegas, and you guys should have called me. But that was many years ago. No, I'd love to go to Vegas. I have a friend who stays there as well, so I'd love to go and visit. Yeah. No, the places where I've been recognized, either people who've come to Norway who are from those other countries, or in London, or at the airport. I think mostly it's been London, or people from different countries visiting Norway who've come up to me on the streets. But London is there would be a period of time of going into any pub or anywhere where people would come up, and I wasn't used to that at all. I mean, in Norway, people would recognize me, but that would be for other things. And then suddenly that started happening in London when we were doing an Ibsen play last time as well. And somebody came up to me and tapped me on the shoulder. I was sitting down by the Thames in a cafe, and they tapped me on the shoulder and they went, "Excuse me, Mr. Conradi, Mr. Conradi." And I thought that I'd left my credit card on the till there was someone there. And he goes, "I'm sorry, you're probably so used to this, but I just want to say," and then he spoke of Norsemen. And I said, "I'm not going to lie to you, and you probably won't believe me, but you said I'm used to this. This is my first time ever in the world that somebody else outside of Norway come up to me and done that." And he just laughed, and he didn't think it was. And then as I spoke to him in English, and I "Thank you so much, and then I looked at him, and he looked so confused, and I was realizing that I was speaking to him in English, and I went like, "No, okay, but if." I just want to say thank you very much. And this is probably easier for you.
So I got one last question that I have to ask everyone from Norway. How big is frozen pizza over there?
Oh, huge.
I don't get it.
This is the weirdest thing.
It's huge. It's huge.
That's crazy.
There are some pizzas that we have in Norway that I have a friend from Italy, and she married my best friend. And when she came, and she tasted some of them at some point. And I said, how do you like them? She was from Italy, and she said, they're good, just don't call it pizza.
Yeah.
But there were some of the really thick frozen ones, and she was used to Italian pizza. And, but no, it's a huge thing. Frozen pizza is a huge thing. People have them on Christmas Eve.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy.
So are we
nuts.
talking like Totino's or California Pizza Kitchen?
Like DiGiorno? I don't
Or
know.
they got their own brands over there. I'm really confused.
Yeah, we
right
got
now.
our own brand. Different brands, and brands that you think are sort of is American as well, because they call them. It turns out to be Norwegian. But we have some brands that, especially one brand that's been extremely popular in Norway that people sort of have it's sort of a favorite of. Yeah. And some people, as I said, have them for Christmas Eve. And
That's
I
nuts.
want to try it. We need to get some.
Like frozen pizza for us is like oh shit, I forgot to make dinner on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's throw a frozen pizza in.
It's more of an apology meal. Like, sorry, you guys.
Norwegians are very forgetful sometimes.
That's awesome.
So I have one last question, and I just wanted to ask you, as the official beard maiden of the podcast, I braided Vader today, and I just wondered if if you could give me any advice on how to dress the guys' beards and where to get Viking appropriate beard apparel.
Yes, yes. I mean, call Asta, who's the best makeup artist in the world, who's
Okay.
doing ours, and call her, and she will tell you.
We're gonna have to get her on.
That would be dope.
She's wonderful.
Does she have a YouTube channel? Can she teach me?
Yeah, she should. She should. She's. I mean, the film that I'm doing now, people they called me and they said, "Do you know Asta is on board?" And I went like, I almost screamed because she's so good. Yeah, she has a great team as well. So, she has a great team. They're wonderful, wonderful people and really good.
I'll have to slide into her DMs.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you should.
We'll find her. No,
But I could do it. But I could come to Vegas and braid your beard.
You're invited.
It wouldn't look nice, but it would be funny.
We could
And
do a whole thing about
and
it.
it would be painful.
Yeah, we have a chicken coop out back where you can sleep.
All of that.
bro,
All of
if
that. Can't wait.
freaking Orm comes here and braids your beard, I'm gonna lose my shit.
That'd be
Yeah.
hilarious. I might get some bones to put in it or something. For
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
That's
Please
amazing.
do. Yeah.
All right, Kåre, just real quick, where can people find you? I know I follow you on Instagram. Go ahead and shout your Instagram and social medias out. Where can people find you and your work?
Okay. I don't have many followers on Instagram, so it would be great. But I can't remember my Instagram account. But I mean, it's my first name is written Kåre, Kare, and my surname is Conradi, so Conradi. So Kåre Conradi, and you will find me.
Yeah, he's on Twitter. That's how we got in touch with him.
And on Twitter as well. I try to be better. I started doing that with season 0. They said you need to be on social media. Before that, I wasn't on anything. You couldn't get me on text. You had to fax me.
Well, I'm glad you joined because that's how we reached out to you, and I'm glad it worked out.
I'm so happy that you invited me.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you so much.
Any other silly questions before we? In a good way. I mean, silly. In a good way.
Yeah, I don't think I have
Oh,
any.
you're good. Jude, are you all
No?
set?
When can you come out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When can we have frozen pizza in Vegas?
Yeah.
I will. What I can promise you is that if I go to Vegas to visit my friend, I will definitely come, and we're gonna sit
Nice.
down and we
Thank you.
and I'm gonna
That's
watch
great.
your studio and braid your beard.
Okay.
I'm booking it. Absolutely.
We'll hold you to that.
I'm not shaving again.
That's right.
I'll grow one too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll grow one too.
Oh no.
You can,
Please do. It was great speaking to your producer as well, Matt. Matt, he was wonderful yesterday. I know that's great, Matt. It was just great. So you're all part of. I didn't know you were asking questions as well, Matt, but you all are.
Yeah, we're all a team here.
Yeah, it's a
He
team
works very
effort.
hard. He's the hardest working one of us. So
Yeah. He said, "I'm going to pop into the studio. Just give me 10 minutes." So he sleeps in the studio.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's got a little sleeping bag underneath the table right here.
Oh, that's great.
Vader, go ahead and say.
Are we signing out?
Yeah, sign out. What's your social medias?
thank you so much for hanging out with us today. For real. I love your show. I love Orm. I love you, man. And it was so cool to talk to you. And I appreciate it a lot. I really do.
Thank you.
I love the whole thing. It's just, and this show that we do, given the opportunity to talk to you and then other people on the show has just been incredible. And I really appreciate it. So, what else
thank
to
you
say?
for having me, and thank you for doing the same and for giving the sort of attention to the show.
Yeah.
And it's been great speaking to you.
We're going to get a
Wonderful.
season 4. We're going to make it happen. We got to get that
Let's make it happen.
campaign going.
We'll get it going, and
Yeah.
then when we do get it going, I want to be an extra.
I want to be Arvin's little brother.
I'll
or
be a
something, yeah.
slave with Kark in the background or something.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
I'm at Matt Vader 74 on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. So
Right on.
there you go.
Jude, go ahead.
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
Do you have anything?
It's that.
Yeah.
So we've just been looking so forward to this for so long, and it was just such a pleasure to sit in a virtual room with you and get like your take on like the things that we got to see on TV and how it was as the human being and in front of the camera when that happened. It's just really cool. And thank you so much for just coming on and chatting with us, and like you're not a super cool guy. You're just like, you just talk to us like you're just like a regular guy. So
well, likewise.
Really cool. And can't wait to have you come out.
I've noticed that people from Norway have a more of a laid back approach to the world.
Yeah, they really do.
You're also cool and chill over there.
Yeah.
Literally.
You don't seem very stressed yourself. You look like really so
well,
cool back
alcohol.
That's the key.
Well, I'm gonna drink my yogurt now. Because I've had this meeting on. Because no one else is gonna drink.
Just go ahead, bud.
Kåre, thank you so much for coming on board. Our quest is to get everyone involved with Norsemen to come on our show so we can pick their brains about it. And you're a class act and you're a very cool guy. We appreciate you hanging out with us. For everyone out there who wants to follow me, you can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter, and kadishbooks.com takes you to my Amazon page.
And I'm your host, Alex, the Salty Nerd. You guys can catch me on our Discord app. It's a great community. We have a lot of fun talking with our guys on Discord, guys and gals. And I'm going to set up a new server specifically for Norsemen. I don't know why we haven't done that yet.
Oh, I thought we had one.
I thought we did too, but I don't think we do. So I'm going to set a new one up and we're going to chat Norsemen. So if you guys are watching this interview and you love Norsemen as much as we do, come to saltynerddiscord.com and you guys can chat with us about our favorite freaking Norwegian show ever. And Mr. Conradi, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a delight. You everybody in the cast and crew that we've talked to so far, Audition, and I've had a communication with the writer director, who is also super chill guy on Instagram. So thank you guys all. And again, like Jude and Kay just kind of mentioned it, like our goal is to have each and every single person involved in the show on, specifically just to spread word about how awesome the show is.
Our goal is to get a season 4.
Our goal is to get a season. We have selfish motives.
Well, that's good. Well, that's my goal.
Okay, excellent. Good. We're on the same page then. But thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it. And stay tuned for more awesome Norsemen content. Hopefully, the more we get to talk to some of the actors and cast and crew. And we'll guys catch you later. And as always, stay salty, my friends. Skål.
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 Skål. Skål. Be safe.